Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Guruprasad ki jai. Ananti Vai Sankar ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Gaurakanandi. Reading from Sri Namamrita, Theology of the Holy Name. Chapter 9. The Holy Name brings faith in Krishna consciousness. Faith in Krishna consciousness is attained by chanting the Holy Name, Lord Krishna to Arjuna. In this world there is nothing so sublime as pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. And one who has achieved this enjoys the self within himself in due course of time. A faithful man who is absorbed in transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. Bhagavad Gita as it is, 4:38-39. And then number 10. The holy name liberates one from the miseries of material existence. To escape the ocean of material miseries and illusion, we must chant the Mahamantra. We are all pure spirit, part and parcel of the Supreme. God is Pavitra, pure, and we are also pure. Somehow or another, however, we have fallen into this material ocean. And as the waves toss, we suffer. Actually, we have nothing to do with the tossing waves of material misery. We must simply pray, Krishna, please pick me up. As soon as we forget Krishna, the ocean of illusion is there, and it at once captures us. The chanting of Hare Krishna is most important in order to escape this ocean. From Rajavidya, the king of knowledge. In Namamrita ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, continuing a verse we began yesterday with a long purport. 6th canto, 1st chapter, text number 49. We will repeat it again. I'll just read it myself, since we don't have it written. Well, some of you have it, so I guess we can repeat it a few times. Yatagya stamasayutta
Yatagya stamasayutta
Upaste yaktamevehi
Upaste yaktamevehi
Naveda purvam aparam
Naveda purvam aparam
janma shruti stata. Yatagya tamasayukta. Vaste vyaktamevahi. Naveda purvam aparam. Nasta janma shruti stata.
Yatagyasta tamasayukta Upaste vyaktam ivahi Navida purvam aparam Nasta janma smriti stata
Yatagyastamasa-yukta Vasate vyaktamevahi Naveda-purvam aparam Nashta-janma smriti-stata
Yatamastamasa-yuktam Upaste vyaktam evahi Naveda purvam aparam Nasta janma smriti stata
Just as an ignorant living being, tamasa, in sleep, yukta, engaged, upaste, acts according to, vyaktam, a body manifested in a dream. Eva, certainly. He, indeed. Naveda, does not know. Purvam, the past body. Param, the next body. Nashta, lost. Janmashruti, the remembrance of birth. Tata, similarly. Translation purport. As a sleeping person acts according to the body manifested in his dreams and accepts it to be himself, so one identifies with his present body, which he acquired because of his past religious or irreligious action, and is unable to know his past or future life. Chaitanya Mano Krishtam Sabutavye Buddhase Swayam Guruprasad Dati Svadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Buddhade Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namate Saraswati Deve Prodavani Buddhadi Nirvishesham Shunyavadi Pasyati Vishtari Sai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasti Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So just for those that weren't here yesterday, a little 2-minute recap of what we discussed in the first part of the purport. But first of all, the verse is derived from the previous verse, which says that Yamaraj, the Yamaduta is saying Yamaraj is just like Bhagavan, but for them Bhagavan is Brahma. Because they understand Brahma. So therefore, puts Brahma in instead of the Supreme Lord. Although some of our acharyas, they say Vishnu. But if the Yamadutas could not understand the Vishnu Dutas, what to speak of understanding Vishnu? So they said, our master Yamaraj is as powerful as Brahma. Of course, we know Yamaraj is more powerful than Brahma because he's a pure devotee of Krishna. Brahma is also a pure devotee. But Yamaraj has a very special position. And Yamaraj is such a devotee that when Jagai and Madai were liberated, and all the demigods came to celebrate because they were so sinful. And then when Yamaraj appeared, the Lord Chaitanya asked him, how many sinful activities have they committed? Had they committed previously? He said, I had 100 scribes writing for all their life, and they could not. They produced so many volumes of activities that would have filled up the ocean. And still we could reach no end. That's how many sinful activities. So, and then Yamaraj began to meditate on that, and he began to dance like a madman. And he fell unconscious. And he wasn't even breathing. You know, all the different demigods came and tried to revive him. And then they chanted the holy name and he was revived. So his position is very special. And as we discussed yesterday in the 3rd chapter, that the Yamadutas will question Yamaraj, who's the supreme? So I made the point that most people accept something as supreme, the government, a big personality, as the supreme authority in their life, and not Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shadhaya chitti tasya tasya charam shadha. That be careful who you put your faith in, because whatever personality, whatever cause, whatever you dedicate most of your time to, that is your deed. You can't just theoretically understand that Krishna is supreme, but you dedicate yourself to something else. This is what most of us do in conditioned life. We don't really, we accept Krishna theoretically, but we don't accept Krishna in full surrender. And this is what Srila Prabhupada was speaking about in Namamrita that we just read. 2 things have to be present. One, that we have faith in the process of chanting Hare Krishna and in Krishna consciousness. And 2, you control your senses. Because if you can't control your senses, they will distract you. They will take you away from understanding Krishna. And you'll have theoretical faith, but you won't have full faith. And therefore, the holy name will not act sufficiently that one will continue to develop more and more faith in the holy name. It won't. It's not that it doesn't have, but we don't have the faith because our uncontrolled senses are pulling us away from the holy name, pulling us away from devotional service. So this is one point that I didn't make yesterday, but it's related to the same thing. Then I quoted from the 11th canto that where it says, that that everyone accepts the nighttime dream as a dream, but they don't accept the daytime dream. We're all, whatever we plan in this world is just daydreaming. We're also dreaming because it's all temporary. It's a longer time, so we accept it as real. And so much so that sometimes people begin to doubt Krishna consciousness. But because it seems so real. It seems so, this is it. This is all of it I've experienced. Why? Because we've forgotten our past lives. Krishna said, I can't remember the verse, 4 or 5. Bahuni, anyway, Krishna says, many lives we have passed together. I remember them all, but you don't remember any. So we don't remember. And some people, they go to a person who supposedly can understand your past life. But even if most of them don't, they just make something up. Or they have some little astrological ability and they capture a few things. But even if they know, what good is it to know what I did in the past life if I don't know what happened in the one before that and the one before that and the one before that, and try to figure out what I should do. So therefore, Krishna says in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that the intricacies of karma are very difficult to understand. Better to practice akarma, otherwise become Krishna conscious. Then you'll solve this whole problem. Otherwise, you go back, just like sometimes devotees have problems amongst themselves. Probably not in Gayana, but in other places. So they start digging into the past, and then it gets worse. No, Prabhu, you said this. No, but you did this. No. Instead of sitting, Prabhupada said, whenever there's a difficulty, the solution is you sit down and chant Hare Krishna together until it goes away. And then you go from there. You take shelter of Krishna consciousness. And so, this is the reality. So then, we spoke about the Srila Prabhupada outlines of the first part of the purport. From Bhagavatam Nam Prabhata Gurute Karma, that this Vikarma, undesirable activity, cause us to be amata, mad. Srila Prabhupada translate the whole verse. Even though this body is temporary, it is very capable of producing sufficient suffering to make life miserable. So you can't think, well, it's temporary, so I'll just enjoy life, and then at the end I'll become Krishna. Well, because Bhagavatam says, no, guaranteed it will cause you enough suffering that you will be miserable. You won't be able to escape. And then, in the next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada speaks about that tamasima jyotirkama. Give up the ignorance and go toward the light. So then Srila Prabhupada explains, what is the light? Yasadeve paramagir, tatadeve tatadaro, kaishete patitaya, prakashate atma. He says, faith means you have faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His servant who is bringing him to you, the spiritual master. If you do that, then you will be blessed. Consciousness will progress. So then we read a little more in that paragraph. And Srila Prabhupada then emphasizes the importance of Guruprasad, Guru Eva Pikachet, that one must approach a spiritual master in full knowledge, and then the Vedas will be revealed, and then you will progress. So that's how far we got to. So we'll start with the purport. According to his association with the material modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, a living entity gets a particular type of body. The example of one who associates with the mode of goodness is a qualified Brahmin. Such a Brahmin knows past, present, and future because he consults the Vedic literature and sees through the eyes of Shastra, Shastra Chakshu. So, now, seeing through the eyes of Shastra, I many times make the point that we have three types of eyes. No? The least efficient ones are these two that we have in the head. Because, as Srila Prabhupada said, I can't see what's going on 2 meters behind me. I can't see it. I can't see that. When I look at the sun, it looks like a little disc, or the moon, a little disc. And so it's not very efficient. Now, better than that, Prashanti Jnana Chakshusha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Chakshu, eyes of knowledge. Also, there's one verse in the Bhagavatam 3rd canto, spoken by Lord Brahma. Someone could look it up. 3:9:11. Very nice verse, where it says, not only you have to see through the ears, you have to drink through the ears. Otherwise, you see through the ears and you drink through the ears. Can you read the verse? Just a translation.
O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you.
Yeah. So, that's Jnana Chakra. But the best eye is the eye of the heart. The eye of the heart. This is the best eye. But for that eye to open, you have to have a purified heart. Therefore, take the doctrine of margin enough. We have to clear away the gross and subtle contamination that's covering the heart. Therefore, it says here, minimum platform to advance the devotional service is you have to act from the platform of the mode of goodness. One may say, well, I'm a Kshatriya, I'm impassioned, I'm a Vaishya, I'm impassioned and ignorant. How will I act properly? You take advice from the Brahmins. Therefore the Brahmins, it says, because Brahmins can see things. Now that was discussed in a previous verse. How did the Brahmins see things? Like Yamaraj. Because he knows the past, he can see the future. He can see, you can predict, if you can see someone's pattern of behavior. Modern psychology is based on this. There's a pattern of behavior, and then different patterns of behavior over X amount of time have been studied, and they lead to such a thing. Otherwise, why do people go to a psychologist? They go because the psychologist will say, from your past condition, your predictable behavior will be this, but I'm going to give you some psychological tools that you can avoid that. So it's all based on, but Yamaraj, of course, he can see so many past lives. And when to speak of Paramatma, if we're connected with our Paramatma in the heart, he can see every past life. When you were a lizard looking for a nice fly, when you were a snake eating a frog, you were, we can't see that. So he can see everything. And, therefore, he can give you the perfect advice. But the external manifestation of Paramatma is Sri Guru, the Diksha Guru, the Shiksha Guru. They teach us because they can see not that necessarily they're reading into our past, doing a past life evaluation. No, they're seeing through the eyes of knowledge, as it says here. And this is the way we can be Christian. We'll go on with the purport. He can understand what his past life was, why he is in the present body, and how he can attain liberation from the clutches of Maya and not accept another body. This is the problem. This is all possible when one is situated in the mode of goodness. Generally, however, the living entities are engrossed in the mode of passion and ignorance. Now, so that sounds a little disappointing. I'm in passion and ignorance. I can't figure out what to do. So then the Prabhupada said, in any case, one receives an inferior or superior body at the discretion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma. As stated in the previous verse, Manasaiva Pureha Purvam Rupam Vipashyati Anumina Lam Sate Purvam Manasa Bhagavam Pagyam. So we'll just read that previous verse again. The omnipotent Yamaraj is as good as Lord Brahma, for while situated in his own abode or in everyone's heart, like the Paramatma, he mentally observes the past activities of the living entity and thus understands how the living entity will act in future life. Now just meditate on that. We have a hard time remembering some of these names. And Yamaraj goes in the heart of every living entity. And how many living entities are there? Now, Yamaraj is not looking into the heart of a fly, because the fly will automatically receive the next body. He's looking in the heart of the human beings because they have a possibility of changing. They have a possibility of evolving. The others automatically evolve. Of course, if we kill or slaughter animals, then we become responsible for them not evolving. If we kill an animal, they're condemned to take the same species. And then they don't evolve, and you're responsible. Therefore, people think that, I'm such a, what's the problem? It's a food chain. Tigers eat meat, why can't I? Well, where's your claw? Where's your fang? If you go and run after a rabbit, jump on it, and grab its neck and break it, and then rip it apart, then you can eat, no problem. But you won't be able to because you can't tear the flesh with your teeth, and you can't chew it, and you can't digest it. So, there are some people that will do that. There are people who practice, and their body becomes, they eat raw flesh. Doesn't sound very happy. But anyway, so this is the previous verse. Everything depends on Bhagavan or Bhagya, the unborn. Why doesn't one please Bhagavan to receive a better body? The answer is Agyas Tamasa, because of gross ignorance. One who is in complete darkness cannot know what his past life was or his next life will be. He simply is interested in the present life. Even though he has a human body, a person in the mode of ignorance and interested only in his present body is like an animal. For an animal, being covered by ignorance, thinks that the ultimate goal of life and happiness is to eat as much as possible. When you go here in Gayana or anywhere else, how many restaurants do you see? Everywhere, more restaurants. Everyone's interested in eating. Even though people are interested in sex drive and, other types of pleasure, those are not so frequent. But we eat 2 or 3 times a day, some people more, some people a little less. But practically everyone except for some yogis that eat at least once a day. And we try, and it becomes the most important facility to enjoy. And therefore, most people are not so healthy because they're thinking more about enjoying eating than being healthy, which is natural. Especially devotees, because they don't have all the facilities for sense gratification like non-devotees. They can go to the bar, they can go to here, they can do that. We can't do all those things. And they can choose 1 out of 4 different types of breaking principles and trying to enjoy life. Of course, they don't take into account the life of suffering for them. Therefore, devotees take that into account and they take prasadam. But as Srila Prabhupada said, in the beginning you can take as much prasadam as possible. After some time, you should take as much prasadam as you need, not as much as you want, as much as you need. And then you will be happy in Krishna consciousness. So eating, Prabhupada said, eating is very important. Eat as much as possible. Just like Charvaka Muni, he said, whatever you do, get ghee. You must get ghee. Yeah. As much ghee as possible and enjoy. This is most people's philosophy. A human being must be educated to understand his past life and how he can endeavor for a better life in the future. That doesn't mean you understand the details of the past life. It means you understand I had a past life, and everything that's happening to me right now is a product of that past life. As Lord Brahman says, Tatenu kam pam susavikshamana, unjana evakritam vipakam, atmakutta. I was the one who created this problem that I have now. When you live in that consciousness, life becomes so much easier. Interaction with other living entities becomes easier because one can understand, if this person is bothering me, I brought that on myself. Therefore, let me tolerate. Let me tolerate. Maybe I can tolerate it at a distance, but let me tolerate. And then I can overcome this obstacle from my past life. Otherwise, Krishna will, by his arrangement, his energies will have to continue to send another obstacle until you finally realize that these obstacles are for me to surpass this, whatever I did. And therefore tolerate. What we don't tolerate is offenses to devotees. And we don't tolerate offenses to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Or we don't tolerate something that goes against our devotional service. These things we don't tolerate. But everything else that has to do with our false ego, why is this person doing this to me? I don't deserve it. Yes, you do deserve it. That's why you're doing it. That's very difficult to accept, but it's the reality. It's the way to advance the devotional service. There's even a book called Briko Samhita, which reveals information about one's past, future, present, and future lives according to astrological calculation. Somehow or other, one must be enlightened about his past, present, and future, but not by Briko Samhita, but made better by Srimad Bhagavatam. Understand in the past, if I'm suffering, I made many mistakes. And in the present, I'm suffering because I'm so Krishna conscious that Krishna is making me an example for others how to tolerate. So we have to figure out, gee, which category am I in? Am I a pure devotee who is Krishna is using as an instrument to demonstrate the difficulties of the material world to others? Well, if I am, I won't be complaining. But most likely I'm in the first category of suffering because of my past activity. Therefore, let me be Krishna conscious. So that suffering will go away. The fan will, because the fan off, it won't go down. If we did, it would slow down, but it would take some time. So, one who is interested only in his present body and who tries to enjoy his senses to the fullest extent is understood to be engrossed in the mode of ignorance. His future is very, very dark. Indeed, the future is always dark for one who is grossly covered by ignorance. Especially in this age, human society is covered by the mode of ignorance, and therefore everyone thinks his present body to be everything, without consideration of past or future. So, one may say, wait, what happened to the mode of passion? Prabhupada speaking about passion and ignorance, now he's speaking about ignorance. Because if you're absorbed in this present body, you are in ignorance. Ignorance is the stopping point for passion. Otherwise, as soon as you're in the mode of passion, you must be in the mode of ignorance. It will force you to be in the mode of ignorance. Because passion means I do something, I've had a lot of energy to get things done, and what happens? I get tired. Mode of ignorance. A devotee never gets tired. They may be physically tired, but they're enthused in their Krishna consciousness. A devotee may be physically exhausted, but then, just like the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they would dance for 72 hours. Can we do that? Chant and dance for 72 hours. And they would only stop to take prasad. Stop, take some prasad, start up again. So can we do that? No, probably not. We may be able to go for 2-3 hours, or maybe 4. Somebody like Guruprasad has the fire room. But most of us can't even go for 1 hour. And an hour and a half, actually. So the point is that there's one Greek verse which I read through this, I looked up. I did memorize it a long time ago, but I forgot it. So this is second chapter, second canto, 9th chapter, text number 32, just before the chapter shloki verse. I won't read the Sanskrit. All of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my cosmic existence. So this is the Lord speaking to Brahma. And he's saying that Brahma, I will empower you. I will give you everything you need. Now understand why, and then he speaks the Now there's another verse in the 11th canto, second chapter, I think it's verse 33 or 34, where the Yogendra is speaking and saying that that actually, if you utilize your senses, mind, intelligence, and whole being in the service of the Lord according to your conditioned nature. Now, as far as conditioned nature goes, it's very interesting in the 10th canto, 13th chapter, I think it's text 57 in the purport, 54, 57, I can't remember the number. But it speaks about the different energies of the Lord worshiping the strength as the Lord has manifested himself in all these Vishnu forms. The calves and the cowherd boys transformed into Vishnu. And all of the energies are surrounding each one of these Vishnu forms. One of those energies is Swabhava. And Srila Prabhupada explained that this swabhava, according to one of the acharyas, I think Guruprasad, he says that this swabhava can be modified and changed by devotional service. Otherwise, generally speaking, a whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken because it's very difficult to change our nature that we have acquired in this body. This is not talking about the habits that we have acquired being in this body. This is the nature that we acquired that gives us a particular way of being in this body, a particular mentality. So, if you have that mentality and you perform Krishna consciousness within, this is why we have Varnashram. So we can do this. So you may be conditioned, but if you understand within your conditioning how to be Krishna conscious, and that's why you can be a Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmin, Kshatriya, you can be a Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanapasta. But you must understand, I'm not any of these things. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Lord Jagannath, I'm not any of these things. I am Gopi Bhartur, Parama Dasa Dasa. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord of the Gopi. That is my surrender at the feet of the devotees and the Supreme Lord. So, this is how we deal with our conditioned nature. I wanted to read one of the verses, I can't remember the whole verse. From the 11th canto. It was a very important verse. 11, 20, 27, 28. So, Jatashadho Bhakti. Hear me now, Sarvakarmashu. When one has developed faith in hearing about me, Krishna is saying to Uddhava, and one understands that this material world is miserable, and Vedic Karma, and even though one understands that this kama or sense gratification is not so beneficial, one cannot fully control the desire to engage in sense gratification. Now this is talking about good sense gratification. Nice, not sinful. But what most people think, oh, it's okay. This is, highest sense gratification. So you engage in it. Never give up your affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with determination to serve Krishna, you develop your faith more and more. And then, Tusamana Kamkaman. But whenever this desire for sense gratification overpowers you, then Dukkha Garhayan means to be a little repentant. And one thinks, why did I do that? Krishna, please give me the strength to not do that again. Again, not talking about sinful activity. I'm talking about sense gratification. That everybody does, and many devotees do. And we can't avoid it because we have this conditioned nature. But if you try to avoid it, it's like Srila Prabhupada said, one verse in the Padma Purana, aparadhan vikanam, that if I am somehow or another committing aparad, then there is a solution, which is that I become fully absorbed in trying not to commit aparad. If you try sincerely not to commit them, then whatever aparad you commit, unconsciously, it will be overlooked. So the same thing, if we're trying not to engage in sense gratification, but sometimes it comes, but we think, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to be Krishna. Then Krishna will give us the facility and the strength to be able to overcome it. It takes some time. And as what Srila Prabhupada said, this is a gradual process. So, anyway, these are some thoughts on this particular verse of Bhagavatam. Any comments, any questions? Yes.
It's very interesting, Prabhu, what you're discussing. And if one can accept that this world is Dukala and Shashvatam, then immediately you understand this is the Lord's provision for us to want to leave this place that is temporary and is full of misery. And we will not be disturbed by the fact that it is so. This is a place of misery. It is a place that nothing, no joy can last. So it gives us the impetus to want to get out. And it's perfectly arranged for that reason. So, as you were saying, whenever someone abuses us, we should accept it because we deserve it. Why? Because if on the calculation of one sin per life, since I have lived countless lives, I have committed countless sins, just on one sin per life. And even in this life, I can't even count how much I have done wrong. So one should try to tolerate, and you can see that there is some advance in your mind state, and now are able to live in the state of goodness if one can be abused by someone. There's a cause for anger, but yet one is not experiencing anger. There is an opportunity. Lust has arisen in my heart, but I'm not tempted to partake. There is an opportunity to gain, but I do not pursue it. These are practical symptoms by which one can know that they are actually advancing in Krishna consciousness. So I really appreciate your class and your corroborated some of the feelings I have, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to express my thoughts.
Yes. Of course, if someone is abusing us, there's one thing is understanding and accepting. Another thing is looking for justice. The duty of the Kshatriyas is to establish justice, immediate justice on immediate circumstance. So that is also there. Because otherwise abusers will read the Bhagavatam and say, hey, this is I have to do this. I'm helping this person out. Let me, let me have a full throttle view. So there has to be Kshatriyas also to stop abuses. They cannot do that. So both things have to be there. The Brahminical understanding is that which we internally accept, but externally we should also try to stop it. Because otherwise that abuser may abuse someone else.
The abuse that I am discussing with you is in the context of words.
Yeah.
Words are wind.
It's internal understanding.
Yeah.
So that we can be at peace.
It's not if someone hits you, then you have a right to defend yourself. That's a different stage. But words are nothing.
And of course, even if we defend ourselves, if we want to be free from karma, we have to understand that I'm defending this body which belongs to Krishna. Then my defense will be free from karma.
Look at Mata Kunti when she said, Viparaha Shantutaha Sasvat. give me difficulties again and again.
Yeah.
This
But in any
is
case-
this is knowledge.
There's a way that everything can be Krishna consciousness.
To accept difficulties is how you will remember Krishna. There's no other way because we are stubborn.
Well, that's also there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your presentation. You were speaking on how we have went through so many past lives and so many past conditions are there. And oftentimes we hear this, but after hearing this so many times, that this was our past condition, this is why we are here, this is the cause of our present suffering. Why is it that after all of this desire to surrender doesn't come, we don't take it serious? That the time for surrender is now and not sometime later. Why this desire for surrender is not there?
Why the desire? Because we actually spoke about this yesterday. Because we are addicted to religion. Because of all those lives trying to enjoy the body. It's an addiction. I made a point yesterday that a person takes some drug for a few months and they're addicted. And it can take them years to give up that addiction. So what to speak if I'm addicted to sense gratification that has accumulated over millions of lifetimes. That's why, in spite of understanding that if I hear and chant, I will be able to, but that desire for sense gratification is just rooted in a subtle body. So strong. Therefore, it's compared to a knot in the heart, Hridaya Granthi, a knot in the heart. And to cut that knot, you have to be very determined. And you have to depend on Krishna and His strength. Just like a little sparrow who was trying to recover the eggs from the ocean. Could not do it. But then by surrender, then Garuda came and immediately the eggs were recovered.
Thank you.
Maharaj, since our nature is to be happy, and that nature has been derived from the fact that we are fractions of Krishna, who is happiness. As soon as one can recognize that the interest of being happy is unstoppable, because we share that nature with Krishna. So, as soon as I recognize where true happiness is, I will stop looking for it where it's really not.
But the problem is, sometimes we accept low-grade happiness because
That is
the
true.
impulse to be blissful is so strong.
Yes, but that means you haven't recognized that the world is a place that is
Well, you may
of
recognize
suffering.
it, but you may be subject to weakness. So therefore, the association of devotee is the factor that can give us that strength. Because alone, one can be, we can understand theoretically so many things, but the atmosphere around us, the surcharge, the sense the people around us that are just, it seems like they're enjoying life. Temporarily they're enjoying. But if we have association with Vaishnava, then it becomes more easier, or we become more able.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll have to stop now for Guru Puja, because otherwise the time factor will not allow us to get done. Thank you all very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anuruddha Vaishnava ki jai.